What's up guys, my name is Ace, and we are now over 6 months into the lifecycle of Modern Warfare 2, and yet there are still a handful of what I consider to be basic features and functionality that aren't in the game, and I just wanted to bring these up again today. Most of these things I have mentioned in the past, but it has been quite some time since I've mentioned them, and I just wanted to bring these up again because they still haven't been fixed or implemented. Now keep in mind with most of these, this isn't just like a wish list of features I'd like to see. This is features that are in the game, or at least have been in the game in the past, that are not working properly still. And while most of these are fairly minor features, they're not game breakers or anything. Like I said, we're over 6 months into the life cycle of this game, so I just wanted to bring them up again with the hopes that maybe some of these could eventually be fixed. And starting it off with the first feature that has never worked in this game, to my knowledge at least, this is the ability to see which perks the enemy had active in the kill cam. Since this game launched, if you look at the kill cam, it'll show the first 2 basic perks. However, I have yet to see the bonus or ultimate perk ever show up for this. Even toward the end of the game, where there's no way that enemy doesn't have their bonus and ultimate perk charged up, I never get to see what those perks are. And while this isn't something that I always need to see, most of the time I'm just skipping kill cams anyway, this really does come into play when you run into one of those confusing deaths where you're just wondering, why did that enemy just eat so many shots while they were standing on the objective? Did they have quick fix equipped? Well, in the game's current state, you'll never be able to know for sure, and I think this is one of the reasons the skill-based damage rumors have gotten out of control in Modern Warfare 2. This is due to the fact that many people don't understand how quick fix works, and also there's currently no way at all to confirm for sure that that enemy is using quick fix, because you don't get an indicator when an enemy is using it, and when you watch the kill cam, you can't see what their bonus or ultimate perks are. So again, while this isn't a game breaker by any means, this information should be available to players in my opinion, and this is a feature that is in the game but not functioning properly, and it's never functioned properly. As for the next feature that's somewhat related to the previous one, this is the ability to check your own perk charge status at any time. That should be under your control. You should always be able to check what you have active and what you don't have active on your class setup. And while yes, perks do charge fairly quickly in the game's current state, sometimes in that early game situation, you do want to know if you have quick fix or if you have fast hands. Maybe you miss those pop-ups. I'm somebody that constantly misses those pop-ups in game because I'm too focused on the game itself, and I just can't remember for sure if one of my perks is charged up or if it's not charged up, and that can affect my decision making in a situation. As it is right now, the only time you get to check these perk charge status is when you are respawning, which is obviously not going to be helping you a whole lot if you're trying to stay alive and make decisions based on which perks you may have active. Or these will also pop up as you get really close to charging up that next perk. And this is obviously an annoyance. Like I said, this is a basic feature that absolutely should be there. You should be able to check at any moment which perks are currently active on your class setup. And I think the best thing to do with this is just put it on the scoreboard tab. They should have it so if you open up your scoreboard, you can also see your current perk charge status. And that just seems like a no-brainer to me. That should absolutely be there, at least in my opinion. Or better yet, maybe we just scrap the perk charge times entirely. I know I've been mentioning that basically since the beta of the game. This new perk system has broken so many things with the game, and I still feel it would be so much better off without it. At this point in the game's life cycle, I don't anticipate it's going to be going anywhere, but if that's the case, at the very least, please fix some of this basic functionality that goes alongside this perk system. And this brings me to the third feature that I feel is either broken or missing, or in this case, just not working ideally, and once again, this has to do with the perk system. This is the perk packages. Why are we still limited to having 5 perk packages when we're able to create at least 10 different setups? Why limit us in this way? Why can't we have 10 different class setups with 10 different combinations of perks? What purpose or utility does this serve? I think the perk packages were meant to make it a little easier to save some of your favorite combinations of perks and make it easy to apply to different setups, but in practice, it just becomes a limiter on what you're able to do, and it just makes it annoying if you want to change out one perk for one situation, for instance. Now that changes it on all of the class setups that have that same package. So at the very least, if they're not going to scrap the perk packages entirely, please give us the ability to have some more perk packages. Maybe just let us edit the default ones and take over those so that gives us essentially more perk packages to work with as well. This just seems really unnecessarily limiting, and that just seems backwards for a game like this where customization is meant to be important. Now, let's get away from the perks a little bit. I know up until this point, it's been all about perks and the issues with their perk system. The next thing I wanted to mention is something that they actually implemented a great fix for with the Season 1 Reloaded update, but for some reason, in one of the updates in the past couple months, that fix just disappeared. And this has to do with those teammate dots that appear above their head, and more importantly, those teammate dots that will sometimes appear directly above an enemy's head, making you think that that enemy is a teammate, and that can often make you hesitate even just for a brief moment, but that's all the time you need to lose a gunfight in Call of Duty. So let's have a look at this. This right here is a clip from immediately after the Season 1 Reloaded update when they implemented a fix for this. When your teammate gets within the vicinity of an enemy player that's within your line of sight, their dot will simply fade away. Whether that teammate is in front of or behind that enemy player, that dot simply won't appear. And this was an excellent fix and a big improvement, and I really appreciated the fact that they implemented something like this. Unfortunately, this is what that same situation looks like right now in the game's current state. That dot is no longer disappearing, and I have been noticing this quite a bit in recent weeks. I don't know exactly when this got reverted, but it definitely did get reverted, so this one's pretty simple. Please just bring that previous fix back into the game, because it was excellent. Next up, let's move on to another thing that was just recently broken in the game, or at least relatively recently compared to these other issues. And this is something I just mentioned in a recent video, but I'm going to bring it up again here. This is the latency telemetry on the top left of the screen. It's been broken since the Season 3 update, and it only displays between like 1 to 3 milliseconds of ping when that's obviously not the ping that you're actually experiencing in the game. Now, for PC players, this may not be a big deal because you can check your ping just by opening the scoreboard, but that's not a possibility for console players. This is how we see our latency in the game, and that's an incredibly basic and important feature for any online FPS game. And while it's only been broken for about 3 weeks, that's 3 weeks too long in my opinion. This is something that I feel should have been a very high priority fix, and I'm really hoping they'll at least fix it with the Season 3 Reloaded update coming this week, but I guess time will tell. This issue though definitely deserved a spot in this video because it is very important to see what your ping is in an online FPS game. And with that, this leaves us with one last missing feature that has been in this game in the past, but it was actually only in the beta build of this game, and since then, it just disappeared and has never come back. This is your kill streak counter that pops up on the bottom of your screen every time you get a kill. This is something we had access to throughout the entire lifecycle of Modern Warfare 2019, and like I said, this was in the beta build of Modern Warfare 2, but for some reason at launch, it just disappeared and we haven't seen it since then. And while I will admit this isn't as important as some of the previous ones that I've shared in today's video, and it's not necessarily like a must-have feature, it is a really welcome feature that we did get a taste of, and yet it just disappeared and we haven't had access to it. And I would love to see this return if that's viable for them. Now, perhaps some people don't like having this kill streak counter, and that's fine. Maybe put it on a toggle or something in the menus. I think that would be great to have the ability to turn it on or off for yourself. But I do feel like it should be there. I do think it adds a little bit to the gameplay experience, especially if you are going on those higher streaks, and maybe you do want to chase that MGB, for instance. It's great to see where you're at in that streak for every kill that you get. And I have been finding myself missing this feature in Modern Warfare 2. And with that, that is going to wrap it up for some of these basic features that are either missing and have been taken away from the game, or are just straight up broken and not working properly. And this is where I'd love to hear from you guys in those comments down below. What other basic functionality or features are currently broken or missing from Modern Warfare 2? I'm not necessarily talking about wishlist items, I'm more so talking about things that have either been in the game in the past and are no longer functioning properly, or just things that have never really functioned properly with Modern Warfare 2. Just let me know all of those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.